Candace, are you ready for part 2?
I am always ready. That's not true, but for this, yes.
For this, yes, you are.
Yes.
Okay. So our opening question, we're going to go back to a question format because we don't have any news to release that I can think of right now. So we're going to go back to a question for you. What would you do with 1 hour all by your lonesome in Magic Kingdom?
Oh, dear heavens.
You have 1 hour with no people around, no lines, no crowds. What are you doing? We'll assume it's staffed.
That's a really good, really hard question. 1 hour?
1 hour.
Okay.
Before the crowds set in.
Oh, so we're talking early.
It can be whatever you want.
Okay.
An hour where the crowds just disappear.
Ooh. Okay. The first thing I would do is I would find my way to Haunted Mansion.
Okay.
Ride that.
Okay. How long is that attraction?
In 13 minutes.
13,
minutes.
20 minutes-ish.
20 minutes-ish.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I'm going to hustle my happy little butt on over to the People Mover.
Okay.
Ride that once.
That's 20 minutes around too. So that's 40 minutes plus walking time. You have about 10 minutes left.
I'm not that slow.
It's a long walk from Haunted Mansion over to People Mover.
I know, but if you know how to do it, it's fine.
Okay, so you have 15 minutes left.
Okay. On my way back to the hub, I'm going to stop by a popcorn cart and I'm going to get some popcorn.
Okay.
And then I'm going to go sit by Partners.
Okay. And just sort of take in the music and the ambiance for 5 or 10 minutes.
I'm going to sit with Walt and Mickey and have my popcorn and bask.
Until the crowds reappear.
Yeah, and then I got to go somewhere else.
I love that. I think mine would... I don't know if I had an hour without crowds.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I would prioritize an attraction.
Would you just wander?
I would just wander.
That really surprises me.
Start on Main Street, because without the crowds and all the talking, you'd be able to hear all the music.
Yeah.
You'd be able to hear the sounds that they're piping in. And I don't have good enough hearing. What? to hear all of that when there's crowd noise going on.
Mm-hmm.
Like my brain doesn't separate the music from the crowd noise and all of that. So all of the Main Street music, I don't hear it. All I hear is the crowd noise around me. I hear the little kid yelling, and my brain just flips to whatever noise is closest. So, like, having it just be completely silent.
That makes me really sad for you.
Why? Because
that's one of my favorite things, is hearing the different music.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway.
Yeah, if I catch any of it, it's very, very little bits and pieces of it. Like walking over into that little alcove where the music lessons are happening. I can hear that because the speakers are pointed directly where you're supposed to be listening. But that ambient music, I don't hear a lot of it.
Okay, well, from our last episode, hearing about or figuring out that somebody's having a different trip than you are, right there.
Yeah, very true. So I think that's what I would do. I would try and make it to every land. Just to hear the sights and the sounds.
Okay.
See the sights and hear the sounds. Maybe if it's staffed, maybe grab a couple of really cool pictures with no people in them in maybe some locations that you normally wouldn't be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe prioritize some of those things where you could get really, really cool moments without people around. Where just grab a photo. Walk past that first photographer that's on Main Street and say, you're just going to walk with me for the next hour. I want you to document my life. And if you see a cool place for me to take a picture, stop me and let's take a picture. But I think that's what I would do.
Okay. Solid. I like that plan.
Go enjoy the park.
I like it.
Yeah. Okay. So today we are going to be putting our Disney brains on full display. Deep dive, deep cuts, still listener questions.
Okay.
So grab yourself a drink, sit back, relax, and enjoy the episode. Hey, welcome to Hanging at the Hangar Bar. I'm Scott.
And I'm Candace. We're here to chat all things Disney as child-free Disney adults. Stories, snacks, and a little magic along the way.
Grab a drink and get comfy and come hang out with us. Okay. This one is going to be a little deeper, so hopefully we have good answers for this. I think you probably will because you have a brain for some of the things that we're going to talk about today.
Okay.
Our first segment in our Ask Us Anything episode 2 is Deep Disney Nerd Mode. What is your favorite historical fact about Disney? And this could be parks, movies, whatever.
I think the fact that Walt lived in Marceline, Missouri for 5 years, but he still considered that his hometown rather than Chicago.
Or Kansas City. Mm-hmm. Because he was only in Chicago for a couple years.
Yes.
And then he spent most of his formative years in Kansas City.
Right. But the fact that he lived in little tiny Marceline, Missouri.
Yeah.
And it made enough of an impact on him that that's what he considered his hometown until the day he passed.
Right.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Agreed. I think that's a good one. And I think the historical fact, like this is a very common one, but Disneyland, Disney World came to be because Walt was bored sitting outside of a carousel at a amusement park.
Right, and he wanted someplace where kids and adults could have fun together.
Right.
And not have the adults sitting on the sidelines, but didn't want it grubby and gross like a carnival.
Right.
Something like, yeah.
Yeah, and Disneyland and Disney World, as much as people say, oh, that's made for kids, was never intended to be made for kids.
No.
There's interviews with Walt where he's very clear that it's for kids of all ages. Mm-hmm. And when he talks about the breakout of the audience, he knows who has money. It's not made for a 5-year-old that doesn't make any money. Mm-hmm. He's got to capture that 30 to 60-year-old that has money and is willing to spend it. Mm-hmm. So that's, as you think about going into those parks and as you chastise Disney adults, just understand that the parks were made for us.
Right. And Walt said the harshest part about adults is that we grew up.
Right. Yeah, agreed. Okay, so in the parks, what is something guests walk by every day without realizing the great story that's there?
So much.
Going to be a short episode if you don't expound.
I know, but like one specific thing. I mean, okay, perfect example. The windows on Main Street. Mm-hmm. People are so focused on getting to the attractions and what they want to do and all these other things. They don't take time to look up at the second-story windows on Main Street and see all the names of all the people that are responsible for the Disney that we're seeing and enjoying today.
Yeah. Or just the attention to detail on Main Street. Mm-hmm. How the windows are placed. Mm-hmm. They're at a height where no matter how tall you are, you can see into the windows. Mm-hmm. And I know some of that is for forced perspective reasons, but some of it is that attention to, no, I want everybody to feel special here.
Right.
And if you're a 4-year-old being dragged down Main Street, USA in Marceline, all you can see is brick. Mm-hmm. Instead of being able to see into the windows and see the cool displays that are happening, unless somebody picks you up and shows you, your experience is completely different. Mm-hmm. Disney thought about all of that.
Yep.
Which I think is cool. And then, again, huge plug for our own show. I think a place that has a better story than people give it credit for is Disney Springs. Go back and listen to our episode with Theron where we talk all things Disney Springs. Mm-hmm. And he talks through a lot of the story and how it was designed and why it was built the way it was built. Goes into a lot of the things in Jock Lindsay's Hangar Bar, the story behind that and how it was originally concept and then ended up being built, that kind of thing. I think the Disney Springs story is one people just see that as a shopping and food district, which highest level, that's what it is. but you don't realize as you walk around there that there's a story that it's telling.
And if you know, you know. But if you don't, you should learn.
Right. Go
because
find
you'll
it.
appreciate it that much more when you're
Right.
there.
Yeah, go find the story.
And see, that's my thing, is that if people take the time to learn the stories, because there's always a story. Like, no matter where you are at Disney World, Disneyland, wherever, there's always a story everywhere you go. And if you take the time to do your research and find out the true story, maybe a little bit of fun facts and that kind of thing about it, it makes it that much better when you're there.
Right. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything other that's like has an obvious story that people miss. It's now gone, but Dino Land USA
Yes.
was a story that people walked past and either didn't understand or just completely missed. That it was a parking lot carnival that kind of folded, and that's why it looks like it's painted. It was painted on a parking lot.
Yep.
That's another good one that I think people really missed. Because I think a lot of times you see people having that. If the story doesn't slap me in the face, it's not really a story. If you have to go digging for it, like Hester and Chester, is that the right names? Their story, like you could find little bits and pieces of it on the cruise ships, just going into the different bars and seeing if you can figure out how everything ties together. Because there is someone in Disney that took the time to say, what story do we want to tell here?
Yep.
How do we tell this story through props and through imagery and through costumes and drinks and food and all of those kind of things all tie into the story.
And I would go so far, and this is kind of a bold claim, but you said we were going to be doing some hot takes and stuff like that. I would go so far as to say that if you are the type of person that does not take the time to figure out what those stories are, your fan card might be up for revocation.
Right. So I'm going to call you on, remember when Theron talked to us about the different levels of fandom?
Yes, I know.
There's
There's something for everybody, and I get that.
Right,
There's the casual fan.
the waiters,
Yes, I
the
get
swimmers, or whatever he called them.
But this is my opinion.
Yes, it is. And you can have a hot take. It's allowed. It's allowed. I just got shushed. Zip it.
Listen.
Listen. There it is.
Yep.
There it is. Okay. Anything else that you would consider deep Disney nerdy that you want to talk about before we move to the next segment? Okay. Our second segment is about lost and missed attractions.
Okay.
So things that we lost and we're missing.
Okay.
What's your favorite attraction that's gone or changed to where it doesn't look like it used to?
Spaceship Earth.
Okay, because you liked the old...
Yes, the Jeremy Irons version was my first time on that attraction, where the entire thing was storied out. And you didn't have that dead space at the end where they were relying on the screens in the back of the vehicles to make you play a video game. All of that was, yes, most of it was lights and that kind of thing. But there was music and there was things to look at and all of that kind of thing. And it was so much better.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good one. And this is where I don't pay attention to enough details. I don't know that I could tell you a missing attraction out of like outside of the Great Movie Ride.
What about Soarin'?
I think they did okay with Soarin'.
Soarin' Soarin' California versus Around the World?
I think they didn't.
Now that they've fixed it?
Yeah, now that they've fixed it as much as they can, I think it's better. I think the videography on that is what sold it short, and I think they did away with the smells that you had with the Soarin' over California. But I'm trying to think if there's... Yeah, I can't think of anything that fits that category. You have another one, though.
Maelstrom.
Yes. That was one of your favorite attractions. That was like your baby they took away.
I don't have children.
Right. But you have attractions that
I do.
you cared for.
I do.
You cared for deeply.
Yes.
So that's a good segue. What should Disney bring back?
Maelstrom.
Yes, I would agree with that. I think that is more country appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
It's more original IP instead of forced IP.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree with that. What about Great Movie Ride for you? I still think that going away is part of the reason you don't like Hollywood Studios.
That's an episode in itself. But I think, okay, so it would be fine if they brought back the Great Movie Ride, but here's an idea where they could use all the IP they wanted to. Instead of the Great Movie Ride focusing specifically on MGM movies, because that's what it was, because at the time it was Disney MGM Studios. Have it be the history of Disney animation movies.
Mm-hmm.
And different scenes from the different movies, like start off with Snow White and then move through the entire timeline of Disney movies.
Are they doing something like that in the new animation courtyard?
Probably, but it's not a ride.
It's a walkthrough?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But like where you could have animatronics and like full scenes from the movies, even if they just kind of blended into each other.
Right.
And just had...
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Yeah, that would be good. And the other one that I'm thinking about is, what are they doing? Have we heard what they're doing with the Star Tours space?
Nope.
Because they're closing Star Tours, right?
Yep.
I wonder if they're going to do something in the same show building, or if they're going to tear that down and just do something different.
I don't know.
They may have announced it. I've not been staying as close to Disney news as I used to.
Yeah.
So I'm not 100% sure what they're doing with that. I'm trying to think, like, around Magic Kingdom, last episode we talked about bringing back Walt's version of Carousel of Progress.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of if there's anything else.
Mickey's Toontown.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they tore down Mickey's house.
Put Minnie's house back, Mickey's house back, Donald's boat, build all that back up again. And
they replaced that with Dumbo's Circus, right?
Storybook Circus.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Put the characters back where they belong.
Yeah. And one thing I wish they would do more, and I think they've started doing more of this around Disney World, is more free-form character interactions like they do at Disneyland, where the characters are just walking around.
Yeah, but they're... Okay, so I talked about this a little bit the last episode. People's behavior at Walt Disney World is so abhorrent at this point that a character would get punched or molested or something like that, and you just can't.
Right.
They would get mobbed constantly because there are so many more people there than in California.
Right. And people would be pissed because they didn't stop to take a picture with them. And how dare you not let me capture my moment?
Right.
And,
Ugh.
yeah.
People.
We need to go to Disneyland.
We do.
Just to see if the vibe is as different as I think it is.
Mm-hmm. We do.
We do. Okay. Let's move into Epcot and talk about some what ifs.
Oh, okay.
But before we get into what ifs, anybody that listens to this show knows our answer to this, but Mexico or Canada first?
Mexico.
Tell us why.
Because that's the right answer.
You always start with tequila, friends. You always start with tequila.
Well, but I will say that on our past few trips, it has been France first.
It has been, because that's where we enter the park.
Right. We come through International Gateway because of our proximity to either breakfast or
Right.
resort location, which is not a wrong answer.
Yeah. My philosophy on that is kind of changing over the years. I don't think it matters where you start.
No, because you can also take a Friendship water taxi across the lagoon and start in Morocco if you really want to.
Right. Yeah.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah. It doesn't... Ultimately, you go where you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
If you're drinking around the world, I wonder if people started in Mexico for drinking around the world purposes because that's where the tequila is,
And
you
tequila's an upper?
you get your buzz faster, and it's an upper.
Mm-hmm. Probably. But I'm sorry, if you were going around that whole circle and tequila would be the last thing that you had, that's just a bad decision.
Bad idea, friends.
Bad
idea.
And remember to hydrate.
Right. Glass of water for every alcoholic beverage. Listen to Isaac from Ted Lasso.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. What countries do you wish were added to World Showcase?
I kind of almost wish there was an Australia.
I think that's a good one.
And also...
Morocco's in the Middle East, right? Or is Morocco in Africa?
It's in Africa.
Okay.
Egypt would be really cool.
Yeah, Egypt would be cool. My first thought was South Africa. And then I think it would also be cool to have Russia or something like that, just from a food diversity of food perspective and a diversity of architecture. Like, look
and
at the
art.
And art. You look at like the Russian architecture. Think about how cool of a pavilion that would be.
Yeah.
An Australian pavilion would just have to be a replica of the Opera House.
Actually, they could just rebuild the Seas building into the Australian Opera House and go from there.
Yeah.
There I go, encouraging more IP.
Right. What about South American countries?
Well, that's happening over in
Animal Kingdom.
Animal Kingdom.
But like for Epcot specifically, for World Showcase, what about like Chile or Argentina,
Colombia. Okay. Yeah, I could get behind that because they could have a whole thing about coffee. They should do that anyway. Just have a coffee pavilion and have coffees from all over the world.
There you go.
Yeah.
And people walk out of there glowing.
Hovering just slightly above the ground and not blinking and hearing colors. That could get real overwhelming. Yeah. And then you have to have proof of medical health before you can actually... there's a 2 coffee minimum.
Right.
I like it.
I do too. So there's room for more pavilions, right? Like 1 or 2 more?
I think there's room for 2 more.
Okay. And would there be even more room for them to expand it back further? Because I know on the France side you have a couple resorts. You have... Does that resort, like the Swan, Dolphin, all of that on the backside? Or is that all England, Canada side? Like, I wonder if they were to expand Epcot and have a path that you would go down to be able to add more.
They can't because there's roadways and waterways and things back there that tie into the infrastructure, and you can't do that. But are there any there now that you would remove?
Let me think. No, they're also beloved. Like the first thing that jumps into my head is I know Canada and England are 2 very different things, but do we really need a Canada and an England pavilion?
Well, and they're both ruled by the same
family.
My thought is that you could pull out China, leave Japan, and leave Mitsukoshi and the pagoda and all that kind of thing, and maybe move some of the elements from the China pavilion over and have like an Asia pavilion.
Right.
Instead of, then you could also expand into put like Korea, Vietnam.
Right. It's a good idea.
Thailand, those kinds of things there. And then there would be room for another drop.
Yeah. So that would give you room for 3 different pavilions. So much for Disney to do. They need to get on it.
They need to call me first.
It's time for a new country.
Yes.
No matter where they put it, it's time to add a new country.
Yes. I also think they could do a little bit better, and I realize it's probably one of the smallest pavilions just because of the show building that's there. I think they could do a little bit better with the American Adventure Pavilion.
Yeah.
Because all it is the attraction and the barbecue place and the theater.
Yeah, and maybe, like, this is probably going to get me canceled. What if we just got rid of the American Adventure Pavilion?
I think if you... okay, so I think you would... I think you could get rid of the American Adventure attraction and do something else with the pavilion
Okay.
and still have an America pavilion, but actually like make it America and not just the attraction. Do you know what I'm saying?
I think so. But like where my brain goes is I feel like Walt Disney World itself, like the whole area is an American pavilion.
That is true. Yes.
Do you really need a spot in Epcot to celebrate what the rest of the park is already celebrating?
Fair point. Fair point.
Even if you want to move that the American Adventure show somewhere else.
Put that over in Hall of Presidents.
Yeah.
I'd vote for that.
I'd vote for that too because it takes less updating every 4 years or 8 years or whatever. There's less because of our current climate. There's less crap around it. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and you can still have the crap because I mean that's part of our history.
Right.
It's just different crap.
Yeah, don't cancel me for thinking we need to get rid of America. It's not because for any political reasons. It's because the whole
America
thing.
Pavilion, not America in general.
Right. Yes.
Let's be very clear when we're talking about things like this.
Yes. I don't know. Yeah, I think you could better use that space. And for World Showcase when the rest of the park is basically America.
I agree.
Okay.
Good thought.
Are there any pavilions that you heard were supposed to be built but never were?
So I think I heard, and I may have dreamed this, but I think I heard at one point there was supposed to be like an African pavilion, but not South Africa, like Kenya,
right?
That area where Refreshment Post is now, but they ran out of money or ran out of space or ran out of something,
right?
And they couldn't do it. That would be cool.
Yeah, that would be really cool. And that was the one that I was thinking of too. And the one thing that they never added that I think they totally should have was they started building it but then ran out of money is this water attraction in Germany.
Absolutely. The boat ride.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They totally should go back and make that.
Yes.
Because they have space for it.
They do.
Because they were going to build it. So there's spaces there.
Mm-hmm.
So go back in and add something very German, very Deutsch to the Germany pavilion and make it a Rhine River cruise.
So much fun. Like I can just about picture that now.
Yeah.
And it'd be lovely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be kind of fun along the same way that the Three Caballeros is fun. Mm-hmm. And yeah, they need to do that. Instead of just having a mural that, now that I know it's hiding something, just makes me want to push on the wall to see if I can get in and see what's back there. See how much building they actually did before they said, no, we're out of money. Let's just put up a mural.
Yep.
Okay. Some bucket list things for us.
Oh, boy. Okay.
What are some stateside experiences that are still on our bucket list?
Disneyland.
Okay.
And California Adventure.
Yep.
I would like to see a Disney show on Broadway.
Yes.
I understand I have to go to New York and put up with the people to do that, but it can be a short trip. But I do want to have that experience at some point.
Yeah, I want a VIP.
A VIP tour?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's definitely on my bucket list.
Oh, and a home in Golden Oak.
Yes. Yes. A $20 million house in Golden Oak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I need to start making more money.
Or our listeners could support us on Patreon.
Right. That too. It's going to take a whole bunch of $5 subscribers to get us a $20 million house in Golden Oak.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think VIP tour, we stayed concierge. I think I was going somewhere with that. Something that we haven't done on the ships.
Funnel Suite?
No, we're going to cross off one of our bucket list things that's been on our bucket list a lot next year when we go to Alaska on a Disney ship.
Which, have we announced that yet?
I don't know that we have. We just did.
Yep.
So that's a 2027 trip for us, is Alaska on the Wonder,
Yes, but not concierge.
but not concierge because that was ridiculous. Well, we don't know not concierge yet. If prices come down or whatever, and we see something that could be a decent enough deal, we might still do concierge. But
Maybe.
when we were booking, the price for concierge was almost double.
Oh, it was double. It was over double.
Yeah, which is stupid.
Yes.
Which is stupid. Okay, so those feel like pretty good bucket lists. I don't know why I want to do a VIP tour. I feel like I would probably be disappointed by the amount of money you spend on that, just because you'd feel like you had to run around so much.
Because you want people to stare at you and say rich or famous.
Right, exactly. That's my bucket list. I want to walk by people and go, rich or famous? Or both. Okay. Behind the scenes tours.
Mm-hmm.
Have we done any of them? You kind of have.
I have, yes.
I have not. Well, on the cruise ship, I did the
galley tour.
Galley tour way back when, and then on this last cruise, I did a tour of the ship.
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't really a behind the scenes. It was just a more telling the story of the ship.
Yeah, I've been down in the utilidors.
Yeah. As part of your time with the Disney Institute.
Uh-huh, and I've seen lots of backstage areas that normal people don't get to see.
Yeah. So of the ones that we could potentially pay for, which one would you do first?
Behind the scenes.
You stole my answer. And that's the least expensive one. It's $25 or $30 to go take a walking tour of the greenhouses. Next time we go, we should definitely do that.
Okay.
We should prioritize that. We've just never prioritized that.
Right. And then by the time we get there, we're like, no.
Right. Because I really want to do that. And we're kind of laughing right now because as we said that, Living with the Land boat ride came up on the thing we have on the TV right now. Fortuitous timing.
Yes.
Are there any other behind the scenes tours that you really want to do?
That's the big one, and I think there's a reason for that. Like, I'm okay knowing about all the nitty-gritty, but I don't want the magic completely destroyed.
Right. And that's what I like about the behind the scenes.
Is it won't do that.
It won't do that. It's just building the magic more.
Right.
It's getting you deeper into the story. So when you're on the attraction, you could be like, hey, I was standing over there and I learned about how they do that. And I learned about why they did that instead of
Actually,
instead of it being, oh, right beneath our feet is a utilidor that's moving trash at 100 miles per hour or whatever it is. Like, I don't necessarily need to see that, or I don't need to be down in the utilidors and see Cinderella take her hair off. I don't. And I
didn't see any of that when I was down there, but
and I'm sure they're careful not to do that.
Yes.
Okay, so are there any other? What are the other behind the scenes ones that you can do? Like a VIP tour, does that count as a behind the scenes because you're not going through the main entrance? You're not. You just have to have a park hopper ticket and pay the $700 an hour or whatever it is.
Yeah. Depending on the experience that you want.
Right.
But it does come with snacks.
It does. And while you're in line for an attraction or whatever, your person will go buy you coffee. But I think you still pay for the coffee, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But even so.
Even still. Yeah, I don't even know what other behind-the-scenes tours there are. So
we'll
listeners...
have to investigate that.
Yeah, listeners, let us know. Like,
come out to Discord. Let us know.
Come out to Discord. Let us know, because you asked us this question. This one is somebody definitely asked. The behind-the-scenes tour is the only one that I can think of.
And we've probably even talked about more of them before, but it's just not braining right now.
Okay, so our last segment here, what are some lessons that we've learned in our years going to Disney? So the first one is, what is the worst apparel/shoe mistake that we or you have made?
New shoes.
Brand new shoes. Is that what ended up in the flip-flops debacle?
Yes.
Okay. Don't wear brand new shoes to Disney.
Get them broke in.
What does broken in mean?
just walking in them enough so that they are comfortable for you, and there's no pinch points, there's no
Right.
stiffness, there's no any of that.
Yeah, understanding what the shoes are going to do on your feet. Mm-hmm. No rubbing, or if there is rubbing, you know how to solve for it. Thicker socks, whatever.
Moleskin, whatever.
Right. And yeah, I think that's a big one because you should tell that story.
So my first trip to Disney World, I, of course, was so excited and had to get brand new shoes because it was a fancy thing to do. I hadn't been told you're not supposed to wear new shoes because they'll kill your feet. And I ended up getting huge blisters all over my feet. And
That was your first trip with me.
Yes. And ended up in the hotel gift shop buying a pair of Mickey Mouse flip-flops and wearing those for the remainder of the trip.
I'm glad that worked because I would not recommend flip-flops walking around Disney World either.
No. You need something with some support and some cushion, but it was that or spend the entire rest of the trip in the hotel.
Right. Yeah, like I said, I'm surprised it worked. Mm-hmm. Like, it was instant relief for you. Mm-hmm. But I think some people would probably liken that to being barefoot the same way. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, even those barefoot shoes, people buy into those. Mm-hmm. I don't know that I would wear those around Disney, but just because I'm not used to walking in them long distances, but I think that's a big one. Mm-hmm. I think the other apparel mistake that people make that we've made is not packing an umbrella or rain gear.
Yes.
Ponchos at Disney are expensive, and sometimes those rains do last longer than 10 or 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. So you'll want an umbrella or you'll want, and we have a couple of different, we now pack 2 little compact umbrellas that go in the bottom of the backpack in case we need them, because we both like that better than ponchos.
Because ponchos, you get sweaty, and then there's still like water dripping places, and it's
and then you have to wrap up a wet poncho and put it in your bag. Mm-hmm. Whereas umbrellas will dry off a little quicker. Mm-hmm. Or you can just hang them from your bag or whatever as you walk around to let them dry. And sometimes when you get on the Jungle Cruise, you should put a poncho on.
Sometimes.
Even, especially if it looks like it's going to be raining and you're the last one allowed onto the boat.
Yes.
Because more than once, I have been sat in the opening where I was the only one who was not covered by awning. The canopy, and just absolutely drenched.
But you're not salty about that.
Not at all. I must just look like the person that's like, this guy won't complain about getting rained on for the next 20 minutes.
But you survived.
I survived, and I have a funny story to tell about it. Mm-hmm. Right? Okay, so what are some other lessons learned that you have that you think our audience needs to be aware of?
I think the big thing to keep in mind, and this is kind of weather-ish related, but specifically for Florida, if you are going to Walt Disney World, keep in mind that it is always, I don't care what time of year it is always humid in Florida.
Yes.
And that humidity can create temperature differences like you would not believe. For example, 50 degrees in Florida feels very much colder than 50 degrees does, say, in the Midwest, because of the amount of humidity and that moisture cooling down, and it gets damp and it gets cold. So layers are good if you're going to be there in winter months. We just talked about a little bit ago, expect rainstorms every day. Mm-hmm. Little ones, big ones, whatever. Expect them. There is no Disney weather bubble, so they don't control the weather. There is no dome over the property. So you do need to watch the weather and pay attention.
Yes.
Also, if it's going to be lightning, if there's going to be lightning in the area, keep that in mind because it may control transportation options that you have. And if it's real windy, that may control some transportation options that you have by way of Skyliner, those kinds of things. But if there's lightning in the area, they also don't run the boats. So, and that can affect some attractions as well.
Right.
So just keep some of that stuff in mind as far as weather.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think most of our tips and tricks or lessons learned would be about that. And I think for us, this is unique to us. I think another lesson learned, well, 2 lessons learned. You don't need the dining plan
No.
to have a good trip.
Nope.
And you don't have to buy lightning lanes
Nope.
to have a good trip.
If you want them, great.
Right. If that's where you want to prioritize and spend your money, great. But you don't have to have them.
Mm-hmm.
And in some cases, lightning lanes will actively detract from your vacation.
Mm-hmm. Because keep in mind, they pull you out of the story. They basically dump you onto the attraction and off again.
Yep. Okay, anything else?
Nope.
What is one thing you would tell a first-time Disney visitor to avoid?
Avoid building your experience solely on hype.
Yeah. Avoid high expectations.
Mm-hmm. Again, there is no possible way to see and do everything.
Yeah.
So at most, 5 must-dos in each park. Anything else you get to do, gravy.
Yep. 100%. I would agree with that. I think that is the most important advice for anybody that hasn't been that's going is don't try and do it all. Pick what things you have to do. And if you have no idea of what those things are, talk to people. Talk to your travel professional. We bagged on them for 20 minutes in the last episode, but watch some influencers, watch some videos.
But with that, pick different videos from different channels.
Right.
Because they're all trying to influence different things. And if you get that exposure, you're going to be able to maybe find some things that
right.
you do want or don't want to do.
Right. And for some people, that might show up as just reading about the parks, buying a Birnbaum's book or something along those lines, because some people don't want to sit and watch a video of every ride in the attraction. They want to experience it for the first time through their own eyes. And I think that's very fair. I'm one that I like to know what I'm going into, so I will go out and watch ride-throughs first, and I'm still just... I had watched ride-throughs of Rise of the Resistance before I went on it.
Doesn't do it justice.
It doesn't do it justice. It still blew me away. Watching a video of somebody on Soarin' will not be the same experience as being on Soarin'.
Right.
Because you won't get the wind in your face. You won't get all of that feeling of the up and down and all of that. So, but I also completely understand wanting to avoid spoilers. So sometimes that might be just reading articles about it or talking to your friends about, hey, what's your favorite attraction? What do you think are the most important things to do? But get advice or talk to more than one source. Even if you're working with a travel professional, they will give you great things. They'll ask you the right questions to figure things out for you. But they still are going to come into it, and you can speak to this or not, still going to come into it with a perspective and ideas of their own.
100%. Yeah. Because, I mean, what I think would be good for you to do is not necessarily going to be what you want to do, A, B, appropriate for your group, because we don't have kids. So
Right.
we don't plan a trip around kids. There are attractions that are made for kids
Yeah.
that you may want to get on, but this is part of the conversation.
Yep. 100%. Okay. As we wrap this one up, 3 rapid fire questions for you. We've already talked about one of them, so I'm going to make you have a different answer. What's one thing you'd bring back? And it can be food related, ride related, attraction related. What's one thing you would bring back? You want me to go first? Paper fast passes.
There it is.
I like the idea of the fast pass. And again, you get to choose which ones you want, but I love the paper fast passes because that's the kind of pixie dusting I could get behind. If you were going to miss your window, saying, hey, do you want to go get on Haunted Mansion? If you can get there in the next 10 minutes, you can have these fast passes. I loved that. A way to sort of give those to your fellow human. But I also think it took you didn't have to have a PhD to plan.
Right.
You had to understand where the kiosks were to be able to go press the button or scan your card to get a return window.
Mm-hmm.
But it did mean more hopping back and forth around the park because you might get a fast pass window that's 8 hours from now.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's kind of the point of why they probably didn't stick with paper fast passes. But I loved that fast pass system.
Well, and people were abusing it where they would
Right.
go and get 20. And you can't just...
Right. Yeah. Anything you would bring back?
I'm sure there is, but I can't think of it right now.
Okay, that's fine. We can always do another episode.
Maelstrom.
You,
I know I said that already.
I know. I'm making you pick a different one. Okay. One thing that if you could get rid of it today that you would get rid of. This is a tough question. I thought these were going to be rapid fire.
No. Again, I'm drawing a complete blank. I'm sure there's something.
Yeah, I'm just going park by park. So in Magic Kingdom, is there anything that I don't? Autopia.
Oh, yeah. Solid. The Tomorrowland
Speedway.
Speedway.
Yeah. Get rid of that. Put something else in its place. It's taking up a lot of real estate. It's not
Smells
future
bad.
focused. It smells bad. It's just not a good attraction anymore. And there's a good story. Like I've read Walt's Land book, and the stories about when they were getting that set up when Disneyland was first being built and that kind of thing are hilarious. Like the cars breaking down in the middle, like, and people like mechanics going out in the middle of the attraction and trying to get the cars working again. Classic. Funny stories behind it. I don't think it has a place any longer.
Even if they were to reimagine it into like Wreck-It Ralph.
It wouldn't fit in Tomorrowland anymore. But,
No, it wouldn't. You're right.
But if you were going to keep them, 100% that's what you should do. But I think that's what I would get rid of. But I'm trying to think of the other parks, and there's really nothing.
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with my brain right now. I can't.
That's all right. Last question for you. What is one thing that you're stupid excited for?
Villain's Land.
Tell us why.
Maleficent. Hello.
Have you done any research into any of the attractions or anything like that they've planned or any of
Just
the
what I've
concept
seen
art?
in passing.
Okay.
And it looks amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, for me, I think one thing I am really looking forward to is, well, two things. They're tangentially tied together. They're both in Hollywood Studios. I'm really looking forward to going on Rock and Roller Coaster featuring Muppet Mayhem or Electric Mayhem. And then I'm also super excited about the Monsters, Inc. roller coaster,
Okay.
the Doors attraction. Because I have been clamoring for that roller coaster to be a part of Disney since the movie came out. Like, you watch that scene in that movie, you can't help but think that should be a roller coaster.
Kind of like the Wrong Lever thing
Right.
from Emperor's New Groove, which is going to be in Villain's Land.
Right. Yeah, I think we heard that, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
A villain's attraction or
Yep.
something like that. So, yeah, that's what I'm stupid excited for. Is some of those new attractions and reimagined attractions that I think they're reimagining the right way.
Yep.
As sad as I am about Aerosmith leaving, because Aerosmith is a great band, I think they're doing it right by doing Electric Mayhem, bringing in guest artists, and keeping the bones of the attraction the same and just making it more Disney.
Right.
So I'm excited for that.
Yep.
Okay, that's it for our Ask Us Anything episodes. Anything else you want to talk about?
Nope. I'll just put another reminder out there that if you like this format and want to have us do another one, you can always join us on Discord and dump a question out there. As soon as we get enough questions to warrant another episode, we'll roll it out.
Yep, 100%. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you. We appreciate the questions that you asked that led to these episodes. They were a couple of fun ones to record. And remember, there is always a great, big, beautiful tomorrow.
And we'll see you real soon.